Disney is launching a new mystery box spirit jersey campaign for the Star Wars movies. Open the box and you might find a shirt corresponding to one of your favorite Star Wars films. Only one problem: of the 9 Star Wars movies, only 6 of them are being represented. Let's talk about it today on That Park Place. Guys, from geeksandgamers.com, this one's written by me. Disney erases sequel trilogy from Star Wars Spirit Jerseys line. Is Lucasfilm done with Rey? This is an interesting one because Disney's latest Star Wars merch drop is causing a stir in the fandom, not for what's included in this mystery box rollout, but for what's excluded. The newly announced Star Wars Spirit Jersey mystery box promotion appears to completely exclude the sequel trilogy. Here is the tweet here from Disney Store. Your destiny awaits. Will you receive one of the 6 episode Spirit Jerseys or the special chase style? The Star Wars mystery box lands on April 24th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Excuse me. Let's have a look. This is a little commercial for it. We're going to kill that because it's probably going to be John Williams music, but these are pretty cool looking Spirit jerseys.
These are very cool Spirit jerseys. I will say, mystery box doing this. This is quite the interesting take. I remember back in the day, Marvin, when they used to have like vinyl missions, for example, when they were mystery box elements too. Those were like $12. Now we're doing like $80 Spirit jerseys. You never know what you're gonna get. That's a very interesting take for sure, right there. But very, very telling that the sequel trilogy is basically non-existent now, especially under Josh D'Amaro with Kathleen Kennedy gone, now with Dave Filoni in, and this new direction for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. At least we have seen this kind of this big shift towards the original trilogy. Obviously, we got the reveal of the original Star Wars characters all together, something that the sequel trilogy didn't actually do last week, which was very interesting. Some people had comments on Leia and Han and Luke and so forth, and casting and all that. But the message is clear. Kathleen Kennedy believed that there were more Star Wars stories ahead than behind. Turns out that, well, everybody cares about what came before, not after.
Absolutely. Tabitha, do you have any Spirit jerseys?
I do.
So you're aware. I mean, it is not like a small investment. They're pretty expensive.
I take considerable time to think about what I really want before I purchase a Spirit jersey because they're pretty pricey. I mean, some of them are like, what is it, $80 or close to. Yep. And, try to be practical and reasonable. It's kind of hard when you're at, the theme parks because there's a lot of things to love out there. But no, just like the same thing with the backpacks. It's like, if you're going to do it, you got to think. I recommend you think about it carefully because it's a pretty penny. And so, yeah, Star Wars, I mean, the fact that they're bringing back original stuff, it's going to be hard to pinch those pennies because it's like, yes, fine, as long as they make it look cool. Because some of the designs that they had for the original Star Wars stuff was a little clunky, childish, I want to say. So if they're going to really invest in some nice, like original content, if you will, like back in the day, get that 60s or that 70s vibe a little bit back again for some of that stuff. Oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to pinch pennies.
What are your feelings on mystery boxes, though, especially when you're dealing with something that is as pricey as a Spirit jersey with not knowing what you're going to get?
I think that's for a very particular group of people who love the thrill of the chase and who are more of collectors. I myself am not that kind of person. I want to know what I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like with something like this where it's like one per movie. Like, you got to think they probably are making less of The Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith just because those are the 2 that people are probably going to be chasing pretty hardcore. But the omission of the sequel trilogy really stands out for me.
Yes.
Because, I mean, the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. Because how many people do you think are not going to purchase a mystery box if there is a 1/3 chance that you get a sequel era Spirit jersey?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Never really thought about it like that. But, people are most enthused about, the original, trilogy, but kind of the original George Lucas films, right? And so you do kind of clutter it up just a little bit if you do have that sequel trilogy stuff in there, especially like, let's say you were like not a fan of Last Jedi, but you were a fan of Empire Strikes Back, and you go in there and you think, okay, let's go ahead and plunk down 80, 90, whatever, however much this is, it's going to be expensive. you do all that, and then it's like, oh man, I got The Last Jedi. Like that's the film I like the least, right? So I think there is something to be said here.
I have zero luck with mystery boxes. Like every time I've tried to get a mystery box, and I'm talking like, you know, Disney afternoon keychains at the local comic book store for $5. Like I'm getting something that I in no way want. So for me, like if I bought 3 of these, they would all be The Last Jedi, every single one of them.
I do think that in a way, if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, in a way, I do think it's unfair if they do not include the sequel trilogy. I am not a sequel trilogy girl. However, there is a fan base for it. There are people that love it and that do count it as Star Wars. And so that being said, I mean, I'm George Lucas era Star Wars all the way. Yes, EU is canon. There, I said it. Sorry. But at the same time, there is an audience for the sequel trilogy. And I don't know, in a way, it just kind of seems like it's like it's going 2 different ways, right? It's kind of like how they omitted the originals and it besmirched a huge part of the fan base. But then now if you don't include the sequel trilogy, you're also besmirching, even though it might be a minority, it's another part of the fan base.
Well,
and
I was going to say, what do you think is the bigger financial either, you know, benefit or detriment here? Like to include the sequel trilogy to bring in the sequel fans, or to include the sequel trilogy and make other people maybe not like, do you think there's more detractors than there are fans is basically the question?
Well, 100%, because it's financially from a business standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. But since the fact that Disney hasn't really been focused on that, honestly, in the last several years, it is kind of a slap in the face to the people that they have been catering to this entire time. So while I get it from like a practical business standpoint, it is going to be quite the flip if all of a sudden they stop trying to promote sequel trilogy stuff, because there is a fan base for it.
Well, but do you care about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Vash, I wanted to hear your thoughts on this.
Right, but do you care about that slap in the face if, in fact, that fan base hasn't necessarily been supporting your product in the way that original trilogy fans had for 40 years up until the sequel trilogy was revealed? See, that's the big thing, right? And I think that's why we're seeing this big shit with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. This was a $1 billion investment, and yet 7 years later, we're looking at, you know, minimizing sequel trilogy inclusion. We're still going to feature Rey. She's going to be next to the Resistance outpost right there in this very corner of the land, and the big marquee, you know, sightings or icons like the Millennium Falcon, for example, will be occupied by these original trilogy characters. If in fact the market was actually there to support, you know, sequel trilogy items, they would have had that reflected in their latest merch drops, including with these spirit jerseys. I understand for sure that it might be a slap in the face to those fans, but they have, I mean, for 7 years while this land existed, it was only sequel trilogy stuff. If they had the opportunity to support the sequel trilogy in that way, they would have. Clearly, Disney, which by the way, I agree with you, Tabitha, they haven't been making the best financial decisions, but now push comes to shove, everything has to be profitable. Disney's, you know, on you know, on thin ice when it comes to investors and everything else. It has to perform. They have to make money, and we have to lean into things that sell instead of the things that don't. Go ahead, Marvin.
I think that this is 100% the mystery box element. I think that if they were just creating spirit jerseys that they were going to put in the stores for all of the movies, I think the sequel trilogy would be included, because as Tabitha said, there is an audience for that. But sure. I do think that the potential of getting a sequel era spirit jersey would probably push away a lot of serious collectors, and those are the people that spend money. But now look at Hasbro, for instance. So Hasbro landed the Star Wars toy line, right? The holy grail of toy contracts, and Hasbro is going broke. You know, like that's how little people actually care about the Star Wars merchandise that's been coming out for the last several years. So I mean, I don't blame them for kind of shifting the all the May 4th stuff this year is all original trilogy stuff,
as it should
basically
be.
Yeah
and some prequel stuff. I think like you have original, then prequel, then maybe Mando, you know, and it kind of shares, overlaps or whatever, and you have sequel. In terms of the amount of monetization from each various franchise, I guess, subcategory of franchise.
Well, here's another question, guys. Do you think that so what they did when Disney first got a hold of Star Wars, the prequels were still kind of unpopular with certain people, and Disney kind of put it on the shelf. There was not a lot of prequel era stuff coming out. They refused to reference them in the sequel trilogy. There were very few connections back until nostalgia started kicking in. Do you think that's what they're maybe doing right now with the sequel trilogy? Is this a move away from it, or are they just shelving it for the time being, let the audience age up to the point where they're going to want to buy collectibles because of nostalgia and then bring it back? I am a little iffy on that, because I think that it's been 10 years since The Force Awakens, and that we would have maybe already started to see some of that, but I'm curious as to what you think. Tabitha, what do you think on that?
I think that two things can be true at one time. And then to just see, again, since it seems that maybe Disney's going to try to go the route that is profitable, beneficial in that aspect, then it's like, yeah, what if we kind of shelve this for a while and see if it builds some nostalgia, and then we can play with it while we know for sure people are going to love the OG stuff. Let's just kind of see what we can do with the sequel stuff and go from there, play it by ear, as they say. And then if there is some interest that gets, or, quite a bit of interest that gets garnered in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years, then they have all the way in the world to just be like, oh yeah, totally, here's a new Rey Spirit jersey. Mystery box.
It's an interesting idea. And I think there's something to be said there. I think that might be, in what you said, Marvin, that might be the strategy here, and just holding off a little bit on it and then bringing that out when relevant, when appropriate. Do we have to dedicate an entire $1 billion land to it? Probably not. But can we roll this stuff out as needed? Perhaps so. And the as needed portion of it is very interesting because, like you said, it's been 10 years since Force Awakens was released. A lot of people were kind of miffed, actually, on X and so forth, that we didn't actually get a 10-year celebratory re-release of Force Awakens over there in December of 2025. And I did find that kind of perplexing, because you would have thought that they would have rolled something like that out. However, we didn't actually see that from theaters. Maverick is getting a re-release. Top Gun Maverick is getting re-released for, I understand that's a 40th anniversary thing, and both films will be available, but that's getting re-released for a week. You would have thought that a film that made over $2 billion at the box office back when it was released back in 2015, which is an astounding number by today's standards, would get something, and yet we didn't actually see that.
Yeah, nothing.
Wasn't it back in the day when they used to have, this is before Star Wars became Disney territory, but remember when they would put movies in the vault? And you didn't have the opportunity to watch it or get stuff about this movie until X amount of years or whatever like that. That maybe, of course, streaming services have kind of ruined that for us. But man, maybe if they put the sequels in the vault, and it's like, there's something about the human experience that says when you cannot have it, people want it. So they should definitely, in my opinion, go that route and then just see what kind of interest it goes. Put Star Wars sequels, I get confused. Put the Kennedy era Star Wars in the vault, lock it up tight, see what happens, and then release it.
I believe it's going in the vault right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there you go. It's going right down there.
Oh boy.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.